Hello my lovelies and welcome back to a Kooky corner of YouTube. Does anybody remember these? If you are of a certain age and also probably maybe just the UK, I don't know, but at some point during your primary school times you'll have maybe made one of these. It's basically a BINCA square, and it's how I first learnt how to do stitching. My teacher, I can remember her face, I can remember everything about her because she taught me something wonderful, and it was how to make marks using vibrant threads and, to make something that I could be proud of. It was Mrs. Cherry. Mrs. Cherry was my teacher, and I think everybody in the school, even the boy, everybody did this. You got a piece of this BINCA fabric, which is this, it's kind of like Ada, but with bigger holes, spaced out bigger. You had a little plastic tapestry needle and a whole load of wool. They didn't give us the embroidery threads then, it was just like, I would say it's like tapestry wool. So we had all of that on our table, and then Mrs. Cherry would show us what we needed to do for the next stitch, because it all goes round in stitches. So this first one is a cross stitch, then this is a back stitch, straight stitch, this is like a half cross stitch, running stitch, another half cross stitch, another straight stitch, another running stitch. You get the gist. And there are loads of different stitches that you can do this, many more than there are on this particular example that I've got here. But I thought it might be nice to revisit something that gave me so much pleasure as a child. I don't know how Mrs. Cherry did it, basically. There's probably about 20 to 30 of us all sat around our tables, all shouting at Miss Cherry because the thread had come off the needle, or we got it knotted, or we'd gone in the wrong hole and we couldn't go back. And we must have been about, I would say about 9, maybe younger than that. I kind of remember being about 7 or something like that. So Mrs. Cherry had her work cut out for her, didn't she? But yeah, I'm just going to grab my BINCA and some tapestry wool, and I'll show you how I would do something like this. Basically, I've revisited my childhood and made myself this, and I've then just backed it with a little bit of felt so that it can be like a mat. I remember making one very similar to this, and it went to my mum for her birthday. And it was very proudly put on the sideboard somewhere with something on top of it. And yeah, I was very proud of it. Anyway, I'll go and grab the BINCA and the threads. I'll be back here in a second. Okay, so here's all the things I'm going to need. I haven't brought a bit of the felt for the back, but any felt will do. I've used like an acrylic felt. It's kind of like a stiffish acrylic felt, but don't worry about that one too much, because this is this is the bit we're doing. I really am so enjoying revisiting my childhood, and not only that, it's a great way to get to know stitches without not having anything to show for it. So it's kind of like a sampler, really. And it's also, if you've got some younger children in your family and you want to share doing some stitching together, this is a great way to do it. By making these beautiful BINCA squares. You can also get bookmark shaped ones as well. I've got some of those somewhere. Couldn't put my hand on at the minute, but I thought this is good for a starter. What I've got in this bag is a whole host of wool. This is tapestry wool. It is the DMC tapestry wool. Let's grab one out so I can show you. I think Anchor do this too, Appleton's do it. But this is the DMC one that I've got in this bag here. I've also got a box of these bits here. So things that I've already started using. So I'll probably start, I'm going to go yellow, I think, to start off with. So I'll grab that one out. So I want to use this up first of all. The light in here is not so great at the minute. I do apologise. Let's see if I can tilt this a little better. Right, the other thing you're going to need is a tapestry needle. Now, I couldn't find my plastic ones. I have got some plastic ones, but plastic one is also advisable if smaller children are using this. This is blunt, you know, it's not going to stab anything, but a plastic one is even better, I think. But for now, I'm going to use this one. So the BINCA comes in lots of different colours, as you can see. I've got loads here. I've also got some here. This was from Amazon, but it's roseboldcreative.com. Sorry about that noise there. I'll take this out so you can have a look at the colours. So I did a blue last time. Really liking that purpley one. But yeah, you can get it in many, many different colours. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with this one. Okay, so the first thing I do is to make sure it's squarish. And what I do is I fold it in half. I fold it in half again to find the middle. You can see that bit needs chopping off there. So I'm going to do that now. Just trim it. So it gets confusing otherwise. There's my little bin. There it is. Okay. So now I can see, I don't know if you can see there, you can probably see where I've got the middle point of my starting point there. And on that first little middle point, I am going to put the first cross of my heart. First of all, threading. So I've got my tapestry roll. Helps if you fold it in half to thread. And now, when Mrs. Cherry taught us how to do this, we weren't allowed to make knots in the back. Sorry, Mrs. Cherry, but I'm making a knot. Okay. So I'm going. My first stitch goes from left to right. And to complete the cross, I go from right to left. You can see the holes in this are really nice and large, so it's easy to see what you're doing. So now you can see that's my middle one there, and I've got two either side of it, one of each above it and one below that one there. So I'm going to do the below one. No, actually, I'll do the ones at the side of it first. So, doing it the wrong way already. Let's go back. You want to, when you're doing cross stitch, try and make sure that the bottoms and the tops all go the same way. When you're doing long rows of stitches, it's easier to do them one way and then do the other way. So to do all the left to rights first and then do all the right to lefts. Don't pull it too hard or you'll distort it. You can imagine in Mrs. Cherry's class we had quite a lot of distorted bits of BINCA there. And go back in there. Okay, so now I want one above there. Probably easier if I bring you down rather than me trying to lift my thing up. There we go. So one there And then that's right. Overthinking myself there. And then there. You can do this with thick cotton as well, or like full strand, you know, like the embroidery floss. Do it with a whole 6 strands of that. Okay, my heart is taking shape. So down there and up the other way. And we've got the beginning of our little mat already started. Now, the next thing I have on here is a back stitch. So I'm going to thread up my needle, get some back stitch colour going on there, and we'll do that next. I'm going to do my next row in this. Now this is the other version of the tapestry wool you can get. It's an anchor one. I'm sure I've got some Appleton somewhere as well. I can't find it at the minute, so I'm going to thread my needle up with this and we'll do the back stitch. Okay, let's take you back out a little bit. I'm going to go out. No, it won't. So with the back stitch, you can see I've left it, there's a gap of like one thing there. So I'm going to start down in this bottom corner there. So I've left a gap in between. And the back stitch is you go forward. You come out in the square above it and then go back down. That's why it's called a back stitch, because you go forward and you go back. And this continues. Quite relaxing, really. And if you, as I say, if you do have younger members of your family that you want to teach them how to stitch, it is a very good thing to do, and it inspired me to do all the things that I do nowadays with my stitching. And that was due to Mrs. Cherry and a square of BINCA and a few pieces of wool. And I can imagine there's quite a few people who are watching now who did this very thing in their classrooms too. Let me know in the comments section below the description if you did this at school. Can you remember who taught you how to stitch BINCA? Did you enjoy it? Or was it something that you just thought, oh no, it's that again where I'll get all my wool tangled? It was from Mrs. Cherry that I learned never to put too much wool on my needle, although I still break that rule sometimes. But when I do get it knotted, I think, yeah, Mrs. Cherry, you were absolutely right. She must have been a saint. Absolute saint, that lady. Okay. You can see what we're doing. We're just going round in a square. Some people start from the outside and work in. I just find it easier to start right in the middle and work outwards. But you do you. I just find it such fun. And it's a bit like when you learn how to crochet and you can turn your mind off and just stitch for the pure pleasure of stitching. But you gain skills along the way. Okay. The green one is now complete. So you can see how this pattern goes. For every one, I'm leaving a gap of like 1 square in between each of the stitches so that they all stand out. So the next one is, it's like a straight stitch. Just have to be careful around the corners when you go around. You have to kind of go into 1 square twice. This is a half cross stitch, so if you can do this one, you can do this one dead easy. This one is a running stitch, whereas with the back stitch you were going back. With this one you just keep going forward. Another half cross stitch, another straight stitch, another running stitch, a load more cross stitches, and then back stitch to finish. We're going to leave that there so you can maybe take a screenshot of it if you want to, so you can see how it goes. But I'd love for you to join me in this journey, just to make our little BINCA square again. And I'm going to try and make one every year. I think I did this one last year. Yeah, it was last year. And this year, this one's going to be my one. And I'm wondering whether to vary it up a little bit. But yeah, grab yourself some BINCA, grab yourself a tapestry needle, some threads, and make yourself a BINCA square. This is just a really quick little blast from the past, and I hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, don't forget to show me your thumbs, show me those thumbs. So like and subscribe if you are interested in everything that we do here. If you do subscribe, it makes a whole load of difference to the channel, makes me do a happy dance, and yeah, all's good in the world. I'll see you back here very soon with something else. Bye for now.